I'm Jen, a dog walking volunteer here at BCAS. In the last video, you learned how to get a dog leashed up and ready. Now it's time to head out for a walk. This video will take you through it step by step. Once you leave the kennel, always keep the dog close to you as you walk, and use caution when moving around corners or through doorways. You don't want to come face to face with another dog and risk reactivity between the two.
Going out door number 1 and door number 3 with the dog.
Use your two-way radio to alert other volunteers as to where you are in the building. Always announce which door you're coming in or going out. As you go through doorways, you must always go first. As you walk, periodically stop and ask the dog to look. Once you say the command, wait until the dog makes eye contact with you, then enthusiastically say yes and reward the dog with a treat. This encourages the dog to routinely check in with you as you walk. If a dog starts pulling, sternly say no and stop walking.
No.
Once the pulling stops and there's slack in the leash, continue to walk. If you're using a slip lead, you can move the lead high up on the dog's neck, right behind the ears, to regain control. This will force the animal to stay closer to you. You can also turn the leash into a makeshift harness to have better control if the dog is pulling. If the dog jumps on you, say no, and immediately turn away from the dog. Don't interact until he or she has all 4 paws on the ground. Then reward the dog with petting and attention. To reinforce this, always bring treats down to the dog's level so he can take the treat without jumping. If the dog is jumping, never reward him with treats or affection. We have several play yards here at BCAS. There can only be 1 dog at a time in yards 1, 2, and 3 unless otherwise pre-approved by a shelter supervisor on duty. Yard 4 is for on-leash walking only and may have several dogs being walked there at one time. If there's already a volunteer with a dog in the adjacent yard, ask if their dog is okay next to another dog. If not, take your dog to another yard, making sure there's an empty yard in between the two. If you're unsure whether your dog is fine with other dogs, you can let the dogs sniff each other through the fence while keeping them on leash. If there's a problem, again go to another yard, leaving 1 yard in between 2 dogs. When taking a dog out to the play yard for the first time, it's a good idea to keep the dog on leash even in the yard. Once you get to the play yard, simply drop the leash, leaving it on the dog in case you need to regain control. So let's review. Keep the dog close as you walk and use caution when moving around corners or going through doorways. Use your two-way radio tuned to channel 9 to alert other volunteers as you move through the building. At doorways, you go first. As you walk, periodically stop and ask the dog to look. When the dog makes eye contact with you, enthusiastically say yes and reward the dog with a treat. If a dog pulls, sternly say no and stop walking. Once he stops pulling and there's slack in the leash, continue to walk. If a dog jumps on you, say no and immediately turn away from the dog until he or she has all 4 paws on the ground. Never pet or give treats to a dog that has just jumped on you. We have several play yards. Only 1 dog can be in yards 1, 2, or 3 at a time, unless otherwise pre-approved by the shelter supervisor on duty. Yard 4 is for on-leash walking only and may have several dogs walk there at one time. If a volunteer is with a dog in the adjacent yard, ask to make sure the other dog is okay next to other dogs. If you're unsure whether your dog is fine with another dog, you can let the dogs sniff each other through the fence while keeping them on leash. If either dog is not okay with another dog in the adjacent yard, move to another yard, leaving a yard between the two dogs. When taking a dog to the play yard for the first time, keep the dog on leash in the yard. Now here's the last rule about playtime. Have fun. Now you know a lot about taking dogs out for a walk and play. Let's take a break and you can ask some questions.